In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to track protein, carbs, and fats the correct way. We're going to start off by why we want to track macronutrients and not calories, what these specific macronutrients actually do for your overall physique, where to find your starting macros, and how to start tracking them accurately. So my name's Adam Bunnell. I'm an online fat loss professional, and I've helped hundreds of men around the world get to elite level conditioning using metabolic priming. And this is the exact system that I teach all of these guys on how to get to this physique. If you want to learn about my program and a little bit more about metabolic priming, there will be a video on my channel pinned to the top. More than happy to take a look at it. But the purpose of today's video is to teach you exactly how to track protein, carbs, and fats so you can break this fat loss plateau and get to your dream physique. So you've probably lost 20, 30, 40 plus pounds, and you've kind of hit that like plateau where you can't lose any more weight and you still got that extra layer that you just can't get off. So when you break down exactly calories and macronutrients, calories affect your weight. Macronutrients affect how you look, and then calories affect how you feel. So all of my clients, we track macronutrients because they're looking for a specific look, that lean, dry physique with shredded six-pack abs. So all of these clients right here that you see that are insanely shredded, they are tracking macronutrients, not calories. So when you even go into the specifics, you'll even notice in some certain cases that you can actually hit the protein, carbs, and fats perfectly and still go over on calories. And this is because of certain insoluble fibers and sugar alcohols that don't count as a necessary macronutrient, but they count as a calorie. So we don't even worry about calories. We throw it out the window. We just track protein, carbs, and fats specific to the actual gram. This gives you a better body composition, and this optimizes the way your actual body works. So even more specifically, why we track macronutrients, it comes down to the actual macromolecule itself and what it actually does in your body. So protein, for instance, everybody's good at hitting a protein goal. A lot of guys are great at hitting a protein goal. It's not that hard. But there is a certain point where you're eating too much protein where it's no longer actually benefiting you. So protein, for instance, has a 4 calories per gram and a 30% thermic effect. Is broken down to amino acids, help repair and build bones, right? So we all know protein is fantastic at building muscle. That's not a secret. But protein, for instance, you can go a little bit over. But it does help your metabolism into a certain sense. Why? Is because the more muscle mass you have, the better your metabolism is. Because more muscle mass you have, the more calories it takes to sustain that muscle tissue. But getting into the more unknown and where most people go wrong is tracking the actual carbs and fats. For instance, have a 10% thermic effect and also a 4 calories per gram. So correlated to leptin, which is the satiety hormone. So a lot of people who go through low carb diets and crash their carbs, one, get very hungry really fast. And that's because their satiety hormone is no longer where it needs to be to feel satiated. So you need to understand what carbohydrates actually do specific in your body to understand how to get to that next level physique. So for instance, 4 calories per gram support bodily functions, which is in your BMR, body's main fuel source of energy, and gets broken down to glucose for energy as well. Extra is stored in the liver. So yes, if you overeat on carbohydrates, you will get fat. But if you actually hit the correct amount of macronutrients within overall carbs, you will get a better body composition, reduce a lot of inflammation, reduce a lot of stress on your body, and your body will be able to repair itself better and supply your actual metabolism with the correct amount of nutrition from a carbohydrate perspective to actually reduce a lot of inflammation, cortisol, and adrenal fatigue on your body. So as well, carbohydrates are the main fuel source of your brain. Your brain runs off glucose. And so having carbohydrates in your diet does help from the cognitive benefit. But like I said, most people don't know how much carbohydrates to eat, and so they overeat or they just cut it all out and never actually learn how much you need to eat. But you do need carbohydrates in your diet if you want to get to that lean next level physique. And so understanding how much carbohydrates you need to eat is extremely important. Next, which is probably the one that nobody tracks and everybody gets wrong, and that's fat intake. So let's kind of break down what fat intake does within your body. 1, fat intake controls your hormones, controls T3, T4, metabolism, thyroid, testosterone, but more importantly, it controls a lot of digestion. So 1, fat, for instance, has a 3% thermic effect, very, very low. It also has a 9 calorie per gram, which is very, very high. So it takes a long time for actual fat to digest. And so a lot of times when clients come to us, their fat intake is well above range, which is causing that inflamed gut, and you can't do anything and you can't lower any more carbohydrates you just are kind of stuck spinning your wheels, and a lot of it has to do with the overall fat intake. So it gets broken down into fatty acids for energy, and extra is stored in fat cells. It gives the body energy, and it helps support cell function as well as hormones, like I said. But where most people don't know is this line right here. Extra is stored in fat cells. So they actually did a study, and they overfed people 1,000 calories just to see what the actual fat accumulation was coming from, carbohydrates or fat. What they realized was that only 3% of weight gain from this case study was actually from carbohydrates. A majority of it was from fat, because your body wants to store fat. It wants to store fat for later usage because it's a slower energy burning source. It comes into handy when your body's at a starving state. So it puts fat off to later be burned as energy. And so understanding fat intake, understanding digestion and hormone levels, you can understand how important fat is within your overall diet. If you overeat on fat, you'll get a bunch of digestive issues. If you undereat on fat, you'll get a bunch of digestive issues as well as hormonal issues. Like, for instance, think about a Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner when you eat all that fat from all of that holiday food and you just get extremely tired afterwards. That's because that's your body working through trying to get through the actual fat intake. It gives a lot of digestive issues, and it can cause a lot of lethargy. So understanding getting the correct fat intake is extremely, extremely important. So how do we find our starting macros? So I actually did a full entire video on exactly how to find your starting macros, and here's the video right here. And so this video will actually show you the actual formulas that I use within my personal clients. And so if you need to find your starting macronutrients, check out this video particularly. If I was to go through the entire video once again in this video, it would take 2 hours. So go ahead and check out that video, get caught up, and come back. But if you already know your starting macros and nutrients should be, and you're already confident in what your macronutrients should be, well, let's move on. So how do we track our macronutrients accurately? So this is exactly how I teach all of my clients how to track their macronutrients accurately. So we want to aim, first of all, between 2 to 3 grams, because like I said, the closer we get those macronutrients, the better that you look, the better that your digestion will be, the better that your body will actually function, right? So you want to get those as close as possible on a consistent basis. With that being said, with my clients, when they are tracking macronutrients as close as possible to the specific gram, I can pull strings in the form of protein, carbs, and fats to fluctuate how their body looks. And that's the exact process that we do each week as they check in each week. And so we use that, and so we can have a consistent basis and know exactly what to change and have consistent variables. That's how you see predictable progress. So the biggest thing I teach all of my clients when they are starting tracking macronutrients specific to the gram is to track the full day of eating the night before or the morning of. So why this is helpful is because instead of starting at breakfast and tracking breakfast, then tracking lunch, and then tracking dinner, and now you're all messed up with your macronutrients, make a plan for yourself. I tell all of my clients that this is not going to be a long-term thing. It's not going to be something you have to do the rest of your life, but this is going to help you hit those macronutrients closer, make more progress faster, and it's going to help you learn quicker. And it's kind of like driving a manual transmission car. The first week, you're trying to downshift, going into second gear, grinding the gears, and by the end of the second week, water bottle in your hand, you're downshifting, going into a second, and you're turning the curve. It's the exact same thing. Once you learn how to do it, it becomes extremely easy. So I tell my clients, let's track the night before or the morning of, so we have a plan to go off of, and so we're not making the plan up as we go. Because if you're tracking a full day of eating the night before the morning of, and you go a little bit over on fats, a little bit on carbohydrates, and you're under on protein, you can switch some stuff around to actually hit those perfectly. Now you have a plan to go off of instead of trying to hit those macronutrients on the go. So this helps with planning, but it also helps with my guys who are super busy. They don't want to think about what they eat next. I tell them, hey, let's sit down 15 minutes, plan out tomorrow's eating, hit those macronutrients as close as possible. Boom, meal prep, good to go, don't have to think about it. That is extremely important, but it also helps you learn. So the program I have is set up in a way to where you understand nutrition. You understand nutrition at a higher level, because as you start to track, you'll start to understand protein, carbs, and fats and where they're actually coming from. And so knowing that is where the sustainability comes from. The education on knowing what protein, carbs, and fats are coming from where, how to mitigate any overconsumption of fat or overconsumption of carbohydrates is where sustainability comes from. Because fast-acting diets like low-carb, keto, carnivore, whatever it may be, doesn't really teach you anything. You just cut out a macronutrient, and any simple-minded moron can do that. You can any simple-minded moron can starve themselves, but you want to understand and have education on macronutrients nutrition, because that's what the sustainability is going to be. And so in my program, the first thing we do is teach them how to track macronutrients specific to the gram, no meal plans, and they get to create their own meal plan. This gives them freedom. It gives them options. It gives them flexibility, but it also gives them the education for later on sustainability. So first thing is always tracking the night before or the morning of. A big thing that always comes up too is overconsumption of fat. Like I said, the American diet is highly saturated in fats, pretty low in protein, and pretty high in saturated carbohydrates. So in a lot of cases, when we review our clients' daily eatings each week, we see a lot of the same thing, which is usually like trying to stay under that fat goal that we're trying to stay under, and under eating on protein. So I tell them it's like understanding meat and like what type of meat has fat and what type of meat is leaner. So the rule of thumb, the best rule of thumb is the whiter the meat, the leaner the meat, right? So chicken, egg whites, white fish, anything that's more lean is going to be more white. Anything more dark like beef, steak, all of that is going to be darker. It's going to have a little bit of fat in it. So understanding that, planning your day of eating around maybe having a leaner source of meat for a lunch instead of a beef for lunch is extremely beneficial, because beef has its place in a nutritional perspective. It's very good in micronutrients, macronutrients, and it's very healthy. But eating too much beef can cause overconsumption and fat, which will be detrimental to the overall progress. So understanding your meat and where the fats come from is extremely important, because I don't see a lot of guys who, have one certain thing that is leading them over, 100, 200 grams of fat. It's usually the accumulation of what you eat per day. At the end of the day, you look back and all of that adds up, because it adds up very quickly with overall fat. You get 5 from here, 10 from there, 20 from there. And next thing you know, you're way, way over on fat intake. So understanding leaner meats and where your fat comes from within your meats is important within your overall diet. And the next thing I tell them is like, yes, I want you to learn how to track macronutrients. I want you to learn protein, carbs, and fats, what protein, carbs, and fats are specifically in the food that you eat every single day for your overall health and sustainability. But to be honest, simpler is always better, right? Simpler is easy to track, tracking macronutrients to the gram, to the ounces, and so we can get as close as possible, and just keeping it simple, with whole sourced foods and just, good foods that are easy to track. If you try to track a bunch of food with all these simple ingredients, all these different things, all these sauces, and it just gets out of hand, and you just don't really actually know what you're tracking. Is it important to know how to do that once in a while? Absolutely, yes. You want to understand that. You want to have the option to do that. But to be honest, simpler is just, always better. So anyways, the last thing we teach our clients is that in the cases that we are at a special occasion, Thanksgiving, Christmases, birthdays, work trips, vacations, nights out with the wife. When in the case we can't track macronutrients, we just revert back to tracking calories. Because like I said earlier in the video, calories affect your weight, macronutrients affect how you look, and micronutrients affect how you feel. So when we can't track macronutrients, we revert back to tracking calories, because that will help sustain your progress for the time being and not make you gain any more weight, any more fat. And so using this, you can have flexibility, you can have a little bit of freedom, and then when you get back on the macronutrients the following day, week, or whatever it may be, the time frame that you're gone, your body will fluctuate back extremely quickly. And that's how we teach our clients. And we have clients that go on vacation, work trips. We have a client right now who's on a cruise, a client in Hawaii right now, and they come back and they're the exact same weight using this actual method, right? So it's important to learn how to track macronutrients, but it's important to know when to track calories. So if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. We do videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the purpose of making sure that we help you reach your elite level physique. All of the information on my YouTube channel will help you make progress. And so on Friday, we are dropping a brand new video that's going to change everything for you in the perspective of how you think macronutrients, calories, and food works. So please like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell notifications on so you get the video on Friday, and I'll see you guys next time.